Conflict is all around us. From time to time, everyone gets into a dispute with someone else. Sometimes we may feel that we want to win at all costs, and in the process, we risk damaging important relationships. This is the second in a series of 4 videos that have been developed to help you resolve disputes before they grow so big they need to be settled by a tribunal or court. This video is called Understanding Disputes.
We don't always see conflict coming. And because we may not get into major conflicts, it can come as a surprise when we realize we're in the middle of a serious dispute with someone else. We think, how did I get into this mess? Let's take a look at what is going on behind most disputes. Conflict often starts when our emotions get in the way of the facts of the situation. When we are angry, we can negatively interpret the other person's behavior and then make judgments about the person that have little to do with how they are actually behaving. This leads to a breakdown in communication. Let's look at how this happened to Kathy.
You would not believe my day.
What happened?
I decided to calmly talk to my boss about the vacation pay she owes me. All I said was that she owed me 2 weeks vacation pay, and I would appreciate it if we could talk about it.
Sounds reasonable.
Problem was, she was kind of distracted. I don't think she was paying any attention to me. I could feel my anger rising. I asked her again if she could give me a moment of her time, but she said she couldn't just then because she was busy preparing a speech for a conference in Hawaii. I thought, Hawaii? Must be nice.
Uh-oh, I'm getting a sense that things didn't go well after that.
No, they didn't. I told her that it didn't look very good, that she was going off on some so-called business trip to Hawaii while I was owed 2 weeks' pay.
And?
She claimed that speaking at the conference was a legitimate business expense because she was raising the profile of the company. She also said she didn't know if she owed me vacation pay because I'm not a permanent employee and she would have to check into it. Can you believe it?
Well, sounds like the conversation got ugly. How did it end?
Well, I was feeling that she didn't appreciate my contributions to the company. I told her that I didn't think she was a very good boss because she was never around. She got defensive at that point, telling me she has to be out of the office a lot to maintain business relationships and that if it weren't for her, no one would have a job, let alone vacation pay. Then I walked out. I mean, you can't reason with someone like that.
Poor communication has resulted in a stalemate. Kathy may have had a legitimate concern about her vacation pay, but when her emotions got the better of her, the conflict escalated.
Let's back up a bit. It sounds as if you got off to a bad start when you suggested she was wasting money on the business trip to Hawaii. Do you think maybe that was just your assumption about the trip and not a fact?
Well, I was feeling pretty frustrated that I wasn't getting the pay she owes me. I don't really know much about her trips. Maybe they're important, but so is my money.
For sure. But is it also possible that you interpreted her distraction as meaning she didn't care about you as an employee? Maybe you walked into her office just as she was trying to get her speech finished.
I guess I wasn't thinking about whether she was busy or if I was interrupting her. I suppose I didn't have to take it personally.
It also sounds as if she felt she had to defend her time outside the office. No one likes to be seen in a negative light. But when people get defensive, it makes communication really difficult.
Well, she didn't sound very reasonable or willing to talk about my issue. Maybe I should take this to the Employment Standards Branch.
That might be more of a hassle than you need. Maybe try to talk to your boss one more time. Make an appointment to see her, and when you meet, stick to the issue of your vacation pay, and don't try to interpret her behavior. It might be difficult because you're upset with her, but try to separate your feelings from the facts. That way you'll be able to keep your cool.
Good advice, Jessica. I'll give it another try.
Now let's take a look at another example of how we get into conflict, often without recognizing the role we play in it. In this case, Hillary and Kyle live on the same floor of a condo building. They've talked before about Kyle's bike in the hallway and are headed into an ugly dispute because they've both taken firm positions.
Could you please remove your bike from the hallway? This is the 3rd time I've asked you.
What is your problem? It isn't like this is in your personal space. We all share the hallways.
The strata rules are very clear. No bikes in the hallway. There's a bike rack outside.
Rules are made to be broken.
Well, I guess I'll just have to bring up the issue at the next condo meeting. I've tried to be reasonable about this, but you just won't listen.
Bring it up if you want, but I'm still not going to move my bike from the hallway.
You know I used to like you. But I can't believe how selfish you are.
My thoughts exactly.
People often think that if they take a strong position in a dispute, they stand a better chance of getting what they want. What happens instead is that one person wins the dispute and the other person loses. But in fact, both sides lose because in the process, important relationships get damaged. In Kyle and Hillary's case, whether the bike stays in the hallway or goes outside, one of them is going to lose and feel resentful. And both of them will lose a good relationship between two neighbors who used to get along. To move beyond taking a position, they will have to discover the underlying needs and desires that are motivating the other person. Here's Hillary and Kyle showing some curiosity about what the other's interest really is regarding the bike in the hallway.
Why do you leave your bike in the hallway anyway?
My last bike was stolen when I left it outside the building. I don't want to lose this one too.
Couldn't you just get a better lock?
I had a good lock last time, but the thieves were able to break it anyway. Besides, I don't want to leave my bike outside because the weather damages it, and I just don't have room for it in my tiny condo. Isn't there any way you could live with my bike staying in the hallway?
I see where you're coming from, but the reason I don't like the bike in the hallway is because it's marking up the walls, and because my father can't easily get his wheelchair through here when he visits.
I didn't know your dad was in a wheelchair. Maybe we can find some other space for bikes inside the building.
That's a good idea. I'll bring it up at the next condo meeting. I think there might be some room in the garage where your bike would be safer and a lot drier.
Sounds great. Thanks.
By being curious with each other's needs, Kyle and Hillary came up with a win-win situation they could both live with. The next time you're in a dispute that's starting to heat up, take a moment to step back. Consider whether you're negatively interpreting the other person's behavior and making assumptions about their motives because of your feelings about the situation. Focus on the facts instead, and get curious about the other person's underlying needs in the conflict so that you can both move towards reaching a solution.